Hello, investors. It is Connor Bates, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Tuesday, June 18th, 5:28 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Market state, we continue to be in an uptrend, and we'll take a look at the GROTECTION gauge here. Market leaders, we have the green arrow in a bullish uptrend. They're doing what market leaders are supposed to do, outperform the market. Short term, this is our 21-day EMA. We have the green arrow. Mid cap and small caps continue to lag and trade below. Medium term, our 50-day moving average, green arrow. Mid cap and small caps continue to lag. And then long term, the 200-day moving average, we have the green arrow as well. And as we know, the market doesn't get into serious trouble until we break the 200-day moving average. So today, indexes traded in a very tight range and leaders shined. Final numbers, 21 over 21 list up 1.56%. 15 of them were green on the day and 6 of them were down. The big 8 lagging today, down 0.16%. RG8, this is our 8 growth ETF composite, up 0.39%. S&P 500 up 0.25%, and equal weight up 0.27%. QQQ up 0.04%, equal weight up 0.02%. Dow Jones up 0.13%, mid caps up 0.26%, Russell 2000 up 0.2, 60/40 0.37, and in-house GROTECTION up 0.47%. So let's get into the inter-asset correlation. So we'll start out with the chart of the S&P 500, and I'll pull up an intraday chart so you guys can see that tight range that I was talking about. And yesterday we hit highs of 54.88, and as you can see, we tried to rally up into them today mid-afternoon, rejected and closed right around there. But as you can see, we're really tight range, popped off the open, found support at yesterday's close, and ended up closing near high of the day. And I'll pull up a 60-minute chart. So just looking, the trend is up. We had that bullish gap here. We back tested that support, which is that 5,400, and then we kind of just broke out of this range, and now we're almost building another box range. And consolidations, when the primary trend is up, we expect them to move higher, and that's basically trend following. So strong close. NASDAQ continues to be very strong and similar to the S&P 500, traded in a super narrow range today. And, that's the best case scenario. The NASDAQ's about almost 9% extended from the 50-day moving average. So if these can digest and go sideways for a couple of days, this allows other sectors to catch up, maybe some lagging names to catch up as well. And then that would give us that breadth expansion that everyone's been talking about, how narrow this market is. But if it's narrow, you just have to skate to the puck. Dow Jones up 0.15%. And in this range, it's coming into this stacked moving averages. So we'll see which way it decides to go. Mid caps continue to lag. Pretty notable downtrend line right here. So maybe if they can wedge pop through here, get back above the moving average, and we can see this RS line start to hook back up, that would be a positive. Russell up 0.16% today, continues to be a laggard. It's coming into that 50-day moving average. So a pop above that would be a positive. And one thing to note, it may be getting exhausted to the downside as the stochastics are starting to get into that oversold area, and we've seen that can be a short-term relief spot. And I'll just pull up an intraday chart, and for the first time in a while, this was kind of outperforming intraday for a little bit. So we'll see if we get that rotation. The VIX down 3.53%. Often the best swing trading trend following environments are when this is below 15, and that's what we've been seeing. And the lower this goes, the smaller the range of the S&P 500 is going to get. And that's from the rule of 16. So you can use that to find the expected range for the S&P 500. The dollar, pretty much flat today. Would like to see this lower, would be positive for equities, just kind of in this range. Gold, RS has fallen off a cliff. And with these commodities, they can be good vehicles to trade when they're, if they're the only game in town, they're good to trade. And especially when they're outperforming the market. But once gold topped at this 225 spot, it's been underperforming the market. So it's been a no-go for us, but we're still watching it. If it can get back above this 50-day and build a base, that could be positive. And if you look at, we talked about the longer time frames, but this is just breaking out of a multi-decade cup and handle. So we continue to watch that. GDX gold stocks bouncing today up 1.51%. Coming into that declining, flattening 50-day, that will be the real test. Silver, the best out of the commodity complex. This is holding the 50-day, and the last 2 days price action has been inside days of Friday's range. And as you can see, the daily stochastic is at a pretty good spot. So would expect this to bounce here. We'll be watching. Bitcoin breaking the 50-day today, and yesterday had a strong candle, and our expectations was for that low to hold. Got taken out today, and just back into this range. Broad bond index continues to trend higher, looks pretty good. TLT, again, trending higher, looks good. Changing character once it was able to get over this 200-day moving average. So that's good to see. 30-year yield continues to head lower. And now that 200-day might start to roll over. And then TNX, this is the 10-year, same thing, trading below the 200-day, heading lower. All right, so let's get the tape up. So some news today. Retail sales came in pre-market, pretty muted reaction. Futures popped initially and then came back down. We had a 20-year bond auction today, and Rick Santelli, he's a big guy on TV that rates them, and he gave it an A+ today. There was Fed speakers scattered throughout the day, and then NVIDIA closed the day and is the largest market cap stock in the market right now. Day count up 5 of the last 6, 12 days above the 8 EMA, 13 days above the 21 EMA, and our expectations remain positive. So some of the sectors, uranium, which has been a lagging sector, found support at the 150-day today and had a nice bounce. Semiconductors, again, continue to lead. Micron, NVIDIA, very strong. Copper bouncing today. Financials were strong as well. Solar seeing a nice bounce as well. And First Solar and NXT recovering nicely today. And then real estate as well, up on the day. IBIT, like I mentioned, Bitcoin breaking the 50-day. ITB was red. Lennar was closed the day down around 6%. They beat on earnings, but the market didn't want to buy the reaction and ended up closing the day down. And one key thing to note is that it's not always about what the actual earnings are. The reaction is the most important, because a stock can report stellar earnings and still be down 5-10% on the day, and vice versa. So a lot of it depends on positioning, market sentiment, where the stock is in the market cycle. ARK down as well, just continues to lag the market. I mean, it's quite crazy. Her ETF's red on the year with the NASDAQ flying, and it's supposed to be innovative tech, and they do not own NVIDIA. XBI biotech down again, still looks all right in this space. So portfolio changes, I'll cover these charts, but we trimmed MU into the strength. It's getting around 30% extended from the 50-day moving average, and they report earnings in 8 days. So gives us a position that we can hold into earnings. We bought GEV. These alternative energy stocks were strong today. And then we sold IBIT as it broke the 50-day moving average. Bottom line from today, tight range, leaders continue to shine. And we'll get into some of those charts right now. So we'll pull up the 21/21 list and see some of the top gainers on the day versus the losers. So ELF was strong today, up 10%. And, tough stock to trade really, but it broke this 200 level, getting above average volume. So this is one to continue to watch. GEV, we took a starter position in this one today. And what we liked is, these estimates are great. This alternative energy industry group is, making its way up. And this had a 3-day down right into the 21-day, offered a good risk to reward. And as you can see, once it took yesterday's high, it really trended all day into the close. And that's exactly what you want to see. And then if I just look at some other names, CEG is another name in this group, was up 3.96% on the day. So seeing a lot of these names strong. Micron, trimmed some of this today, but this has had starting to really accelerate once it broke out of this 130 level. And today it closed the day up 23% above the 50-day moving average. So maybe it pauses. And one thing we're noting is the earnings in 8 days. And this stock has just been getting so many upgrades the last couple of weeks. So, always got to lock some profits in on the way. SMCI was up 3.67% today, broke that downtrend line on that pocket pivot last week. And you can see that volume coming in. Had that tight inside day. Now it's moving higher, trading above that 900 level. So that's good to see. And if you look at the weekly, back above the 21 week, and this weekly stochastic is in a pretty good position. NVIDIA just continues to trade like a champ, riding the shorter term moving averages higher, closing the day up 3.51%. Palantir, this is a name I mentioned in the video, broke out of this little shelf here on the right side of the base, and we can see that relative strength line starting to make a turn. So this is getting some volume the last 2 days. So this is one, is back on our radar. TMDX, just, hovering around this 150 spot, looking to break out. If you look at this weekly, this base breakout was on that earnings catalyst and continues to trade higher with some nice volume that week. And then Kava, another holding of ours, up 1.54% on the day and continues to trend higher. And some other Wingstop, this is another food stock breaking out. Sweet Greens, this one had us recovering today, undercut that gap low, getting back above, up 4.5%. So that group is still one of the better groups in the market right now. So we'll look at some of the weak links. Coinbase with Bitcoin breaking the 50-day. This is coming back into the, into this base. It fell at that 260 spot and the 50 days right here. So we'll be watching if that can hold. Apple, pretty normal pullback, down 1.1% on the day. And one thing to note, this had that huge weekly breakout, and you look at that volume, and Apple's a very big stock. So this takes some capital to move this stock. And one thing that I read this weekend was that Apple's the most under-owned Mag 7 stock from fund managers. So if this has, the AI component, and a lot of growth ahead, you would expect a lot of people need to get in because, outperforming the indexes, not owning these names can be a challenge. Coherent down 0.74% today, normal action. Spotify down about 50 basis points. And as you can see, it was looking good the other day, popping, and now it's coming back in. The stock is just not a good stock to buy on strength. So this 300 level and the 50-day moving average are going to be important spots for it to hold. Abercrombie and Fitch, again, I've had that earnings gap, another great quarter, and now it's just consolidating inside the range. CrowdStrike holding in GROTECTION down 0.24%. And like I mentioned, it continues to respect that gap low, and volume has been very light. NXT, TAN, the ETF bounced today, and NXT was up 0.24%, still trading above the 21-day and looks healthy. And then First Solar as well. So this 250 spot was a psych level in that high volume close from that breakout day, put in a hammer, and it reclaimed the 21-day moving average. So good spot that we expected it to bounce. And stochastic starting to hook back up on the 60. And then Bros, this is another retail restaurant stock. Started to push out this morning, got a big 50 price target from TD Cohen today, but closed back near the low end of the range. So the bottom line was leaders shine. And if I pull up a chart of the FFTY, you can see this is the IBD 50 index, and majority of the stocks that we traffic in are growth stocks and CANSOM oriented stocks. And finally, this ETF is breaking out, and this is could be a sign for more good times ahead as growth stocks are still coming out of a pretty brutal bear. So that's what you want to see. And a Goldilocks scenario would to see big tech and the NASDAQ take a rest while we see money flowing into these growth stocks and smaller names. So some other charts of interest, VRT. This pulled back hard from that 110 level. It's reclaiming the 50 and the 21-day today and kind of found support at the previous top of that base. So that's good to see. And if you look at the weekly, this is reclaiming the 10-week line. PSTG, new highs for this one, closed near the low of the day, but overall acting healthy. Dell had that super nasty earnings gap down, but held the 50-day and it's starting to U-turn. And one thing I want to note is sometimes you just can't count names out, right? ARM, it looked like it was over at this 85 level. And look at this run. This cleared those 164 highs. So as long as Dell can hold above the 50-day, that's a positive. CEG, which I mentioned with the power, alternative energy stocks. This one put in a strong day here. And then PWR, another one that's related into that power space, looking strong out of this space. So good to see and great action from many of the leading stocks. So that's going to wrap it. As always, like to hear from you. My email is connor@revereasset.com. And then you can reach out to Dan, Don, or Ted at revereasset.com. Phone is 855 Real Wealth. That is 855-732-5932. And if you're interested in becoming a client, please reach out. And with that, that's going to wrap it for Tuesday, June 18th. This is Connor Bates with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thanks for listening and have a great evening.